I think hand on heart, we probably see him as more of a national horse. We really like what we see of him, and if it's not on Saturday, he'll be winning before long.
He gets an off 135. Need I say more? Sansegal wins at Ascot on Saturday. Hello and welcome back to the Only Fools Love Horses YouTube channel. And surprisingly, this weekend, so early into the jump season, is arguably one of the better weekends we'll experience. That's because we've got the Charlie Hall Chase at Wetherby on the weekend over in the UK. We've got the Grade 1 Ladbrokes Champion Chase over at Down Royal. We've also got the Breeders' Cup. Yes, we're going to be talking about the final big meeting of the flat season. Aidan O'Brien, Charlie Appleby, all the big guns going over to America, going over to Del Mar, and Will City of Troy win the Classic. This evening or today or whatever you're watching, it's me and Harry talking about the racing on the weekend. Lee is ill today, so wish him speedy recovery. But Harry, big weekends, both flat and jumps. I bet you're brimming with excitement for either way.
Yeah, good evening, Ash. No, it's good to be back. Look, I can't wait, to be fair, because you've got a mix of both codes, haven't you? You've got really good racing from here, and you've got the excitement. Where anyone who says they're not excited for the Breeders' Cup, and especially City of Troy, it's not a punting angle for me, but it's just, if this horse can do it, I don't know why people are crabbing him. You know, we should all be cheering him. And wishing him to do well. And look, if you haven't got a financial interest in it and you do love racing, you've got no reason to not support City of Troy. That's my opinion. I'm allowed to be shot down for it. And no, it's good to be back and good to preview this.
Definitely, yeah. And before we get into it, the run of trainer interviews continues. We had Dylan Cunha on 2 weeks ago. We had Ben Pauling on last week, who both gave winners. And this week, we've got Matt Nicholls, assistant trainer to Kim Bailey, on the video. So we're talking a little bit about Chianti Classico, Trelawn, who could be a Coral Gold Cup runner, and this week's runner. So we're going to plug that interview in now. Pleasure to be joined by Matt Nicholls, assistant trainer to Kim Bailey. Matt, how's the season going so far in the Kim Bailey yard?
Yeah, we've started well. The winter horses hit the ground. Had a treble at Worcester last week, which was great. Had a winner at Chepstow's opening meeting, which is always nice to be involved in those big meetings. And we had a horse run well at Chepstow. We only had two runners at Cheltenham, I should say, but one of them ran very well. So we've started well. The horses have been running to form, and that's all you can ask, really.
Precisely, yeah. What's sort of the team strength looking like compared to previous seasons going into this year? Are you excited by the sort of strength and depth you've got going into the year?
Yeah, I think so. We're slightly down on numbers, but strength and depth wise, we have a lot of nice young horses around the place, and we've got a lot of nice older horses around the place. Very easy to fall into the trap of keep saying you've got a lot of nice young horses, but those young horses have got to get older at some point, haven't they? So, yeah, we're pleased with what we've got. We could do with a few more numbers on the ground. Not gonna say that we're delighted with the amount of numbers, but the general sort of level of the yard and the ability, yeah, we're very happy with.
For sure. So obviously this weekend, the big entry for yourselves is the Ultimate Chase winner, Chianti Classico, making a seasonal reappearance at Ascot. What sort of expectations for the weekend? You know, obviously it's everyone says it's, getting their first run into them and we go from there. What's he sort of going to be like at Ascot this weekend, do you think?
Well, one of the owners is the director of Ascot, and we wanted to come here. We won this race before with Vindication a few years back. We wanted to come here from the minute we sort of made a plan for him this season. And he's not a particularly difficult horse to get fit, so he's going to be ready for the day. You don't go into a £100,000 handicap chase not fit, but at the same time, there is a long season ahead, and he's going to have 12 stone on his back. It's a big weight to be carrying around there. But he goes there ready to win if good enough.
Okay, that's interesting to hear. So hopefully sort of, 95% fit, are we sort of talking about with Chianti Classico maybe?
All of our horses will improve for a run. You can only get them so fit at home. They're all going to improve for a run. And he's as straight as we'd want him for this time of year.
Good to hear. And I saw on Twitter the other day, I think in a Tote Racing clip on Twitter, that the big aim's the Grand National this year. So how do you sort of like plan towards the Aintree National from here?
Plans wise, obviously, look, it's a bit boring, but it depends what happens on Saturday. If he goes and bolts up and goes up £10, your plans have to change, don't they? So the plan from here would be really to get Saturday out of the way, but then in the back of our minds, we're thinking Beecher Chase, and then see how that goes and make a plan from there. It could be a break before the Grimthorpe, or it could be something over Christmas. There are so many options for a horse at his level, and it really depends whether we're going to be going up the handicap for winning well on Saturday, or coming down a few pounds because we're already at our peak and that's as good as we are. So it's difficult to really say, but I would have thought the next point of call would be the Gucci Chase.
Obviously, you sort of dipped into Grade 1 company towards the back end of last year. Were you tempted at all to maybe give them a go in Grade 1 company again, or do you think, look, we've got a horse here who could win a national. Obviously, Kim's won a national before. You just always thought, look, let's go for a national because you're not going to have many times you've got a national horse coming into the season.
Probably goes back to what I was just saying there. If he goes and bolts up at Ascot and it's taken out of our hands, then we have no choice but to go graded and see where we fit in. He's got an awful lot to find to be a Gold Cup horse, to be a realistic Gold Cup horse. Well, we're not going to go tilting at windmills for the sake of it. But if he was to go and win very well at Ascot and the handicapper bumps you up £7-8 to 0 to 100, to 160, then it's taken out of your hands and you've got to go for those sort of listed races. But I think hand on heart, we probably see him as more of a national horse than more of a very high level handicapper than a Grade 1 horse. But hey, who's to say he hasn't improved a few pounds? We'll find out on.
Hopefully, anyway, that's for sure. Your other sort of notable entry is Trelawney. Obviously, ran in the Ultima, came down early, but to all intents and purposes, a very talented horse based on last year's form. I remember speaking to Kim, and he found it hard to split Chianti Classico and Trelawney coming into the Ultima. He's entered, is it at Carlisle on Sunday? What's the sort of plan going to be for him? Because he's also got a Coral Gold Cup entry, which is rather notable.
Yeah, we put them both in the Coral Gold Cup, actually. Chianti's in there as well. For both of them, first of all, ground is a big issue. Neither will run if the ground isn't safe. Trelawney has bundles of ability. We've never made any secret of what we think of him, and he's always shown us an awful lot at home and on the race course. And he's got his own way of doing things, hasn't he? I don't want to describe him as a bit of a monkey because that sort of implies he's ungenuine, and he's certainly not that. He's just got his own way of doing things, and he can be a bit tricky to perhaps get in front, shall we say. Didn't go right for him at Cheltenham. Just didn't, it was the first time he ran in a big field handicap. He didn't go with them, didn't get his landing gear out of the second. It was all over very early. So it's very important to us that we get a smallish field first time out and try and just gain some confidence with him, get a clear round of jumping in and see where we are. Hence, we are pretty desperate to go up to Carlisle for that intermediate chase because it's always a small field. It's a bloody good small field, man, I must say, looking at the entries that are up there. But if we can get him there and he can get into a nice rhythm and jump round and finish in the first four, and if he can win, great. And then it's about building from there. The obvious next step would be the God, I want to call it the Hennessy. You're going to have to tell me what it's called. I'm really sorry.
The Coral Gold Cup. I'll help you with that. Coral Gold Cup.
That would be the obvious next step if the Carlisle race was to go well.
If you were to maybe say the ground wasn't as safe as you would like it on the weekend, would you be prepared to send him into something like a Coral Gold Cup first time out and see how he goes in quite a massive race?
There is a graduation chase at Haydocks. I think it's 2.5, 3 weeks later. He would be more likely to go there.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. Just looking at sort of the rest of the season. Well, let's look at the big winner you've had already this year. Destroyed the Evidence at Chepstow. He was rather impressive. Won the race that Chianti Classico won last year. And sort of looking on bits and pieces on Twitter, Kim's saying that he might go on the same route as Chianti Classico. That is the Ascot handicap chase, and then obviously onwards to potentially the Cheltenham Festival. How exciting is he going forward off his current mark of 1:35?
Yes, very exciting. It will have to change a bit because the Ascot race doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. And they've now changed it, so he'll have to have 4 runs before he can go to Ultima as well. So things are a bit different. It makes it a bit trickier for him. So there's a novice handicap chase at Newbury next week, which we've sort of got our eye on as long as the ground doesn't get too soft for him. He wants it, he wants decent ground. And he's a very exciting horse. He was bought to be a 3-mile chaser. He went to Chepstow. We thought he'd run well. There was an extraordinary amount of money for him, and we were sort of amazed in the paddock that we went off such a short price favourite, to be honest. But we shouldn't be surprised when these horses that are bred to be 3-mile chasers improve when they get a fence and a trip, And he looked very good that day, I thought. Got into a lovely rhythm. Tom gave him a great ride, set him a light up the straight, and when he needed him over the last 2, he really came for him and galloped out through the race well, through the line well. Doesn't show an awful lot at home, to be honest, so it's difficult to know where we are with him. But he knows how to win races, doesn't he? And his profile is very smart.
I think he's a very, very smart horse itself. Just quickly, 4 runs before running in a handicap at the festival for fences. What's that been like for trainers to adapt to? Has it been difficult? Has it been easy? Has it sort of been expected?
It was only expected because they did it with hurdles last year and didn't do it with chasers, which was a really strange rule in the first place. Why did one and not the other? I couldn't quite get my head around that. I mean, Chianti Classico last year would not have been qualified for an Ultima. We went Chepstow, Ascot. He needed a bit of time after Ascot because he had quite a hard race on ground that was probably too quick for him. Went to Kempton, and that was the only race we could really get into in between then and Cheltenham because the ground had been so bad through January and February time, and we'd have run out of time with it. We'd have really struggled. So, everybody knows the new rule. Some horses will be fine, and some horses will struggle to get that amount of runs in, really.
Just for the rest of the season, we've had people on before, and they've sort of been talking about exciting horses. And I like to sort of keep the floor fairly open when talking about exciting horses. I had a couple jotted down: Clondor, General, the Kemble Brewery, El Rio, sort of horses like that. What's maybe some of the more unexposed types you've got in the yard, which are sort of exciting both you and Kim and the whole yard back at home?
Love these questions because now you think you're going to either put the mockers on one or not mention somebody's going to offend them. So, you named the two novice hurdlers from Worcester last week, are both very exciting horses. Clondor General would be a bit more of a slow burner, perhaps. He's a lot more of a chasing type than the Kemble Brewery. I think he's going to be a smart hurdler, but whatever, the whole cliche, whatever he does over hurdlers will be a bonus. He's a very big horse. Kemble Brewery. Sort of got a bit of a problem after he ran over hurdles at Cheltenham last year, but having that run could just fall into our lap because if he ends up as a handicapper rather than a graded horse, he had that run last year. He'll only need 3 runs before he can run in those big handicaps, which could be helpful for us. He's a very smart horse, and I don't know where the ceiling is with his ability as yet. There's a very nice bumper horse there on race with a good pedigree called Wild Goose, who we should see in the next fortnight, that we both like an awful lot. He's done some good work. He's very well related. He's got a good pedigree. He's a half brother to a Swinton Hurdle winner by Yates. He's called Wild Goose, that we really like. And one more would be a point-to-point winner called Moon Rocket by Doyen, who we bought at the April sale at Cheltenham. And he's done everything right so far as well.
That's good to hear. I have only 2 more questions. The first one is, I asked Kim for a video earlier this season talking about maybe a horse to follow, and he said, what was the horse? Phantom Getaway. He said could be well handicapped. Do you have any more information to sort of share on what Phantom Getaway might be up to?
Going to Fosslas a week on Sunday. And if now, we think he's a well handicapped horse. We had a couple year before last, Mr. Grey Sky and the Edgar Wallace, who are very similar types. For whatever reason, nothing went right for them. But then they ran badly 4 or 5 times. But then you end up with a well handicapped horse because, and if you put those problems behind you and start the season on the front foot, which we did with those 2 horses last year, and they won 3 apiece, you've got a well-handicapped horse, and that's sort of how we feel about Phantom Getaway. So, all being well, he's got a bit of work to do yet, and he will want soft ground. You'll see him at Fosslas. I think it's a week Sunday.
Amazing, good to hear. And final question, it relates to Mr. Grey Sky. Obviously, he's running today as the podcast comes out, but tomorrow as we record. He's your only ever entry until Saturday. And when we've asked, Ben Pauling and Dylan Cunha in previous weeks, is there a winner in waiting this week? Obviously, it's a bit different because you've only got the one runner. But if we were to say maybe of your entries you've got coming out, so you've got plenty on Saturday, plenty on Sunday, even got Monday entries in now. Is there one winner in waiting that you can give to the loyal Only Fools of Horses listeners that could potentially buy him a lunch or buy him a couple of drinks down the pub potentially?
A very big fan of the bumper horse at Ascot on Saturday. He's called Draco Malfoy, which I'm sure everybody knows. Draco Malfoy is a Harry Potter character, I believe. That's how I was told by all the girls in the yard, because I didn't know either. He's a very nice horse. He's done some lovely work at home. His point-to-point form didn't work out as well as we might have hoped, but we really like what we see of him. And if it's not on Saturday, he'll be winning before long.
Draco Malfoy into the trackers. Matt, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time, and I wish you the best of luck with Chianti Classico. Trelawney if they're on the weekend, but whatever happens, wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season. Thank you very much to Matt Nicholls for that interview. Yes, a nice bumper horse out on Saturday and the start of what could be a Grand National campaign for Chianti Classico. Didn't you enjoy that, Harry? Didn't you enjoy that interview, eh?
Class. Look, I'm hoping it's 3 out of 3 because, I know I obviously wasn't on the interview, but it is you've got my unbeaten record that you're holding firm here right now. So, look, fingers crossed you can get it done.
Yeah, hopefully. Anyway, it's a nice bumper horse on the weekend that could bring in the goods, but obviously it's a bumper horse, so it's one for the future. Anyway, we'll kick on. We're going to start with the domestic jumps action before we get stuck into the USA, and we're going to do with the big race over in the UK, big race over in the island, and then we'll do just a couple of interesting ones over in the US, starting with the Grade 2 Charlie Hall Chase. Big race this, because it's a fairly open one if all of these turn up, but they're probably not going to. But Braveman's Game 6-4, Grey Dawning 7-4, Jerry Clum 5s, but he is also the short price fav for the Ladbrokes Champion Chase. Conflated double entered, French Dynamite 8-1, Hewitt the same price as Aroka, and the real whacker, my boy, in there at 12s. Harry, we have a similar opinion on this. How do you see the Charlie Hall?
Yeah, I think it's a case of, look, you're looking at the screen now, 6-4, 7-4. You're looking down the field, 5-1, Jerry Colom, who obviously most certainly won't go. Hewitt, again, probably won't go, and I don't think he's good enough. Aroko, nice horse, but is he up to this standard on official ratings? Got no chance. I think we're both in agreement here, but Braveman's Game just looks a standout bet here. I mean, his run on RPRs in this last year, when he obviously went down to Gentleman's Game, he got an RPR of 170. Now that demolishes anything that Grey Dawn has done. Even when he won the Turners, beating Ginny's Destiny, he only ran to a mark of 165. Well, I say only; it's obviously still very commendable. But Braveman's Game, he's very much ground dependent. That's no secret. He's more than likely to get the ground. Now, I know, listening to Digit Diaries or Digit Decks, whatever it is, that the Betfair podcast do, that they've got the Badger Beer in mind, that if they don't go for this, then obviously, he can obviously carry top weight, which Frodon did a couple of years ago. So that is obviously one aspect, but I just think that Braveman's Game will have no excuses. If he's not good enough to win this, then he won't win again. That is my fear, and I'm pretty brutal in that respect. But I can't see him beating. I think 6-4 is probably worth taking.
Nice, I like that. Look, I want to get it on the record that if this was mid-season, both horses had runners, it was fairly soft ground, like it was fairly workable jumps ground, I probably would be a fan of Grey Dawning of the two. But just with the conditions, the fact that Braveman's Game gets £3, Grey Dawning is a better horse on softer conditions, and he might not even go. Dan Skelton was talking on the Nick Luck podcast the other day that he might not even go for the race because it is good to soft and it's not going to get any slower. And the fact, he's got to give £3, first run of the season. I think this might be Braveman's Game's day. Like, it's going to be the race is going to cut up. Like, Jerry Clum, I'm not sure he's going to come, but like if he does, again, he has questions to answer on the ground. Hewitt's probably not going to go. He's going to go to Down Royal. Conflated arguably will stay in Ireland as well. Like, it will cut up, and Braveman's Game gets the weight from most of these in here. And I think this might be his day. Like, you go back and watch last year's Charlie Hall, everyone has this in mind. Oh, Braveman's Game wasn't that good. I watched it today because I had it in my mind that Braveman's Game was on the downward curve from this race last year. Go and watch it back. He just travels in like the best Braveman's Game we've ever seen. Just absolutely slams the last and gets beaten. But
and that's a tricky fence. That needs to be like noted. That last fence at Wetherby, we've seen plenty of horses do it. It's, if you get that wrong, you meet it on the wrong stride, you could quite easily let something. And a horse of Gentleman's Game's class, I mean, he's very class. And look, I'd argue as well, Ash, you mentioned about the ground. Look, Braveman's Game recorded a better RPR than Grey Dawning's ever done, and that was on soft ground. So, and that was when he was second to Royal Pagaya in the Betfair Chase. So, if you go on official figures, Braveman's Game doesn't have to fire to his best amount of ability, and Grey Dawning, I think, needs a career best. That's even if he goes 6-4. I think it's worth taking.
I agree. Braveman's Game in
it's not often. It's not often anyway that me and you agree, but it's good to get one on the board at least anyway.
It might change in the next race anyway. The Ladbrokes Champion Chase, we will give it a cursory glance because it is the Grade 1. It's the I want to say it's the first Grade 1 of the season. I think I'm correct in saying that. And it is Jerry Colom flying the flag for Gordon Elliott, 4-7 as we speak. Envoy Allen 10-3, Hewitt 5s, Conflated 7s. So two names already mentioned there. Delta Work 16s, Founder 50, 20s, and Visionarian the same price. Harry, is it Jerry Colom, and do we just move on?
I'd say so. 4-7 is too short for me, especially if the ground was drying up, because that would be a slight concern. But he's the best horse in the race, and the best horses in the race usually win. But I've been proven wrong many a time, so I'll quickly move on, Ash.
I won't. and I'm going to bring up last week. My safe bet of the video was give me 5 at 8 to 1. I didn't say it was a get stuck in absolute lump job certainty. I said the safe bet is give me 5 at 8 to 1. I'm bringing it back. I might make it. So if this is 2 from 2, I might make it a hashtag. The safe bet at this stage for the Ladbrokes Champion Chase is Hewick at 5 to 1, because we know he'll go on the ground. He has back class form, which is very, very good. He beat Braveman's Game in the King George last season. He beat Shishkin when he came down, but would he have beaten Shishkin that day? Who knows? He was third to Fast or Slow at Punchestown just recently. He was chasing down Galopin Des Champs in the Gold Cup in 2023 before falling. His form's there. He'll go on the ground. He's had a run under his belt when finishing third to French Dynamite at Punchestown earlier this season. So it's a 17-day turnaround. He'll strip much fitter for it. Shark Hanlon said he will strip fitter for it, I remember, before Punchestown. So he'll come on for the run. He'll get the ground. He's got the form. The safe bet, hashtag it now, hashtag it, is Hewick at 5 to 1. And I'm going to put him forward to hopefully down Jerry Colomb, because Jerry Colomb first start of the season, he got out of a hole last year. I was really impressed in how he won this race last year. He got out of a hole. Conflated arguably should have won that race, and even
Just
Envoy
outstayed him, didn't he? Just outstayed Ellen.
And he came up that inside, but it just he got out of a hole, and it was his first run. He'll definitely come on for it, and the ground he's been untested on it. So short and sweet for me, but Hewick 5 to 1. We're going to switch over to America. How are you going to Del Mar this weekend?
I'm actually catching a flight on Saturday morning, mate. Yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely great to hear. I knew you'd.
What a stupid question to ask that is. You absolute clown. I mean, what? I'm sure. Do you know I'd have mentioned it to you, saying I'm going to Del Mar this weekend? But
hey, I don't know what Venator pays these days. I don't know what they might be sending you out there. Who knows?
There's a couple going out there, I think.
Yeah, there should be. I will certainly be watching it from home. I'll actually be watching it playing a poker game at the time, so could lose double money if I just lose all my money.
I love this meeting purely because everyone is always half cooked. You're all smashed. You've had a great day, either watching football, racing. You either done your conkers on a Weatherby, and then you can just put more in. You can have fun bet at Del Mar. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Why not? Gamble responsibly. The turf sprints, we've highlighted 3, and obviously the City of Troy race is going to be one that we're going to do, but we'll do the turf sprint first of all, because Cogburn tops the market 13 to 8. Harry, I can't wait for you to give me the inside line on his form. Bradsell 11 to 2, Believing 10 to 1, Notorious the same price, Big Evs 14 to 1, won at the meeting last year, Star of Mystery the same price, and Bigger the rest. Harry, I know you've been a fan of Believing this season. I've been a fan of Believing this season at some stage. She has not got the best draw in a good few runs this year, but stall 1 compared to Bradsell stall 12, that must be a nice little switch over to see her in a better stall than Bradsell.
Look, you can either have 5 to 1, 11 to 2 on Bradsell, or 10s on Believing, and she's finally got her ground. I was listening to an interview that George Bowie gave Nick Luck, and he was just he was quite sympathetic towards Believing, and I am too. She doesn't really run a bad race, but my only worry would be her gate speed, and just like her early pace in the race is usually what lets her down. She always finishes well, and I just think that if Ryan Moore can get her rolling early, I think she'll be charging home. She's 10 to 1 now. That is an each way play for me, because I just think that regardless of what you think about the British sprinters and that they're going into the Americans' backyard, I'd be lying if I said this Cogburn, I know anything really about it, but he did beat Cardem pretty comfortably as well at Keeneland, and I did at Kentucky Downs. I did actually watch that race because I was thinking that maybe Cardem could put a nice dent, and we'd know really where the American sprinters are, but Cogburn kind of put him in his place really. And I just think Believing, she gets weight. She's got a lovely draw. She's got the goat on board, Ryan Moore. I think 10 to 1. I'm going to give her one last go.
I'm jumping off the ship. I've given this horse, I think, a couple too many times, and usually this would be me being like, I'm giving it one more go. I'm giving her one more go. But no, you
give Orazio a go every single bloody time. I mean, that horse is never going to get your money back. I mean, the horse just hates the game.
And that's without even talking about the Real Whacker. I've somehow managed to not even mention the Real Whacker today, and he's even running this weekend. Go on, the boy. No, I think Big Evs is a big player in this race. Like, maybe he hasn't been to his full glorious self all year, but at the same time, like, he won on seasonal reappearance at York, so he coming into this off a 71-day break. I think he'll refreshen up really nicely for the race. Disappointing at York, slightly disappointing at Ascot, but yeah, he was third to Sfura that day. He was getting a bit of weight. He beat Believing as well. I think maybe like he was slightly hampered by track position as well at Ascot when he was third, and maybe I just think a really quick Delmar Breeders' Cup, I think he can just fly in and look. It's a specky 14-1 play, but he's massive price for a horse of his ability. Coming back to a meeting he won at last year, but 2 each way plays from me and you there, Harry. Very interesting. Breeders' Cup Turf is another very interesting race that we'll talk about because there are plenty of different angles into it, different form lines being chucked towards the head of the table. Rebels Romance has been a bit of a globetrotter for Godolphin and Charlie Appy, William Buick. Emily Upjohn decided to come here and not the filly and mare, which I think is very interesting. JRB 6s, Luxembourg 7s, Wingspan going to this race, not the filly and mare, 10s, Farbridge 12-1, Shiraira, the Japanese runner. I've definitely pronounced that wrong. 12s. Sorry?
Shariar, I think.
Probably right, yeah.
It's
anyway,
an easy way to say it. Ash. Don't complicate it, my friend.
I just thought I got to put one bad pronunciation in the video just to make sure it's an early Force of Horse video. What do you fancy in the British Cup Turf?
Yeah, Shariar is the one. I actually do really fancy this horse. I thought, look, second behind Rebels Romance in the Shima Classic, but they were both drawn. You didn't really know what to make of the draw. Rebels Romance was in 11, but kind of went up early. Shariar was in 2 and kind of was pretty handy, but then I just never really thought that was going to get to Rebels Romance. But on the other hand, the roles have now switched. Now, I just think stall 3, it could be a big thing. And Shariar comes out of that, got the early pace. Christian Demura gets on well with the horse, was obviously second in the Shima Classic, gets back on board now. He's actually rode this horse quite a few times. Obviously finished behind Equinox back in 2023, was behind Auguste Rodin in the Breeders' Cup Turf, obviously in this race last year. That was a good run and was coming out of stall 1. I just think 12-1's a really good each way price. Horse has done nothing wrong. I mean, goes on the ground, goes on pretty much everything. And fingers crossed. I usually slag off the Japanese runners, but I
remember your words about me.
I wasn't wrong. I was not wrong, and I'll stand on my high haunches about that thing because that thing was never winning the Arc, and I don't even know the name of it. But it was never winning ever in your life would that win the Arc.
Oh,
if you can't even remember the name of the horse, it says quite a lot. But look, yeah, Shariar.
That's really bad. I can't remember. I'm giving Emily Upjohn a go in this. I think it's a really bold move from them to come here and not to the filly and mare because it's similar distance. Filly and mare is 1.3.5 miles, and this is 1.4 miles. She's got a really nice draw out of 2. Look, I think her form is there. If you look hard enough, it's there. Like third to Blue Stocking last time out on soft ground. Blue Stocking's won the Arc. Slightly disappointing in the Yorkshire Oaks, I thought, but she still ran a good race behind Content. The form hasn't worked out as much as I'd like to see, but you go back to last season, she bolstered up in the Coronation Cup when beating Westover. Westover went to go chase home Ace Impact in the Arc that season. Second to Paddington over 1.2 miles. Again, that was on good ground. Her form on good to firm is pretty good. And yeah, coming back to fast ground, she's got a better stall than Rebels Romance. Rebels Romance got 11. I think that's going to be really difficult in a race like this. I think Emily Upjohn for me in this.
What do you make of, without your journalistic head on and your political head?
Right.
What do you make of Frankie Dettori riding Emily Upjohn again?
It's fine.
What's
the issue? What's the issue?
I'm sure of it. There's something to it.
What's the issue though? Like, he ended his career in the UK. Whatever you think about that aside, he's had how long a year relationship with John and Fady? Like, I can't remember when he left Godolphin to go and be like, you know, had to do all this stuff and then come back to John Gosden. But he has such a strong relationship with John Gosden that John Gosden's got a horse out there that he wants to ride. He's got Frankie Dettori now knows the American tracks better. I think it makes sense, does it not? Like, he won the Coronation Cup last year on Emily Upjohn, did he not? Like, makes sense to me. Makes sense. It makes a lot of sense to me. I think it's weird they come here though. Like, do they think a lot of her?
That's what was like quizzing me. I was like, this horse has done absolutely jack shit all year. You know, she hasn't. She's not lived up to the standards from last year. Kieran Schumacher gave her, in fairness, I'll give Kieran Schumacher credit where it's due. He gave her an absolute corker of a ride at the Curragh, where Blue Stocking wore down, and she should have won. Whether people could say he kicked too early, but when you look at Blue Stocking,
I thought it was a good ride.
You know, and it was a good. It was a ballsy ride, and I just think that bar that. I'm not really that impressed by it this year. I think 7-2 is the worst brass of the weekend. I'll be honest with you.
There we go. We've gone from agreement to complete disagreement, just like that. Final race that we're going to put under the microscope is the Breeders' Cup Classic. Now, we'll caveat this, won't we, Harry? We don't know the form inside out. It's dirt racing. I mean, we don't know all the racing of all horses on the turf, let alone on the dirt. But we do know one of them very well in City of Troy. He is topping the market currently, hoping to give Aidan O'Brien and the lads their long-awaited classic winner, 7-4. Fierceness, who has been bought, 50% of his breeding rights have been bought by Coolmore, which I think is hilarious, 9-2. Forever Young 6s, Sierra Leone 12s, bigger the rest. Harry, you sort of touched on it at the start, but let's betting wise, okay, we'll take away you're going to get out the City of Troy bunting and the flags, and isn't it amazing seeing him running on the Classic? Are you going to be betting City of Troy on the weekend?
Look, it's one of them. It's would I be taking 7-4? No, there's loads of people that I know that are on at fancy prices, but yeah, you had no idea that this horse was going for the Breeders' Cup Classic, especially after he got beat in the Guineas, because it was just. It wasn't, in my opinion. It might have been at Coolmore, but he needed to bounce back, and I'm really glad he has. You know, I'm really glad that he went to the Derby and he put away. I thought was a decent enough field, and the way people can say about he carved through, and he got that special seam up the inner. But look at the distance he put between them. I mean, he's just a freak of a horse. He doesn't get tired. I'll go back to it when I mentioned this horse with the Superlative Stakes. I remember after his run at the
Curragh. Here we go. Get the trumpet out.
I'm just. But what I'm saying is, you knew there was something special in there from his debut, and from Aidan's comments straight after his maiden win when he nearly ran into the wall at the Curragh. You know, that was telling, and he's built on it. And look, Calandagan should have won it on Champions Day, by falling out the stalls. Blue Stocking was obviously an ARC winner now. Docklands didn't run too bad in the Cox Plate at the weekend. That's a horse that I was looking at the form earlier this morning. I was thinking, Docklands actually ran this weekend. But look, I really, really hope he wins. Really hope he wins.
I think I'm of the same opinion. Like, I'm not going to be betting him at 7-4. My dad's on
I might have a fiver. You know, I might have a throwaway fiver or something.
Maybe.
Hear him on, but.
My dad just reminds me that he's on a 10-1 or something like that, and I'm like, oh, cheers, you know, like,
yeah, thanks, yeah.
No, look, if you're on a good price, it's fair play. This Fierceness, like you follow the owner on Twitter, Rapole Stable. I can't remember his first name. Is it Mark or something like that? Like, he just keeps talking this horse up and saying the best of the Breeders' Cup is this horse, and you know, like, he has got all the form on the dirt, and his City of Troy has to step up to his level rather than him having to step up to City of Troy's level. Completely get that. I think it's going to be an absolutely fascinating contest. I'm going to sit there, probably small stake. I'll be in the small blind in my poker table and probably just watch the race and be very interested to see how City of Troy goes. Sorry for the betters there. We'll go to anything else, though. We do have things to put up. Harry, do you have anything else? If not, I have a list.
Look, it's a weekend of amazing racing, and Utoxter's back on Friday. Look, you can't ask for much more. And in fact, I will go to Utoxter because in the 235, you have a really interesting novices chase. Now you have Load of Sud, who's obviously a non-runner here at Utoxter a couple of weeks ago. A race that I can't think of the name of the horse that won that. But anyway, regardless of that, but in there as well,
is your bet Rare Edition?
That was it. I should have really remembered that actually. But the Khalifa de Burley is also in there, so it'd be quite interesting to see if they both go. Obviously, both owned by Sir Alex Ferguson and co. It'd be really, really interesting. And I think Khalifa de Burley, I saw this horse when he beat Give Me Five, and when they walked around the parade. I think you were actually there as well, weren't you, Ash? Yeah. When you looked at both of them, they would come two completely different specimens. One was your typical flat horse, multi-purpose horse, and we've seen that with Give Me Five. Beautiful horse, brilliant, buzzing for connections. You know, they've picked up a hefty prize at the weekend. Good on them. Khalif de Burley, on the other hand, you were thinking, and the old cliche phrase, anything he does over hurdles is a bonus. When you look at this horse, he's just kind of like,
Big
wow.
frame of a horse. Big
Yeah,
frame. Beast.
And you look at the finished article, and I guarantee what people that are there, I'm not going to Nicholls on Friday, but when if you see this horse, he probably still won't even look at the finished article. He looked to have so much growing to do. I just think it offense to be made. And you talks that is, I'm glad now you're getting more and more decent prospects that are turning up at your talks because of how fair of a track it is. It's a decent enough test. I mean, you need a solid jumper, especially the fence at the top of the hill when they swing around. You need a decent jumper, and you need someone that can gallop. And I think Khalif de Burley, I'm really, really excited to see him, and it's good to see Paul Nicholls unleash Quebecois, who made a really nice hurdling debut today for the Mint Hill family. So Khalif de Burley would be my horse that I'd be following very, very closely on Friday.
Yeah, Quebec was a nice horse. Gimme 5, by the way. He's summered really, really well. He looks like a bit of a frame of a horse now. And Khalif de Burley, I love a 4-year-old over fences. If I had my way, Sergino would be going over fences this year because I love 4-year-olds over fences because you get the weight for age in the Chase division. So hopefully he runs well. But Ladbrokes is going to be a nice little prospect for me. My one jumper, and it's going to come as no surprise to people that have followed me before, but in the 205 at Ascot, the Burn Group Handicap Chase 2 mile 1, San Segal 5-1. It's typical. It's second run of the season, second run after a wind up. He's a pound lower than when he ran this race last year when he was going to win before falling at the last. He was going to beat Boot Hill that day. He then went on to Lingfield and finished second to first float off a mark of 139. He gets an off 135. Need I say more? San Segal wins at Ascot on Saturday. At the Breeders' Cup, I'm going to mention Free. I'm going to mention Asterius in the Juvenile Turf Sprint. I think he's got a really good chance. He's got the best form coming into the race. I think he won in spite of track position last time out when beating Big Mojo. And I think a bit of a tighter run affair is going to really, really suit him. In the Juvenile Fillies Turf, the 11:05 on Friday, just eyes on. This could probably be my one USA trained bet of the week, but eyes on Vixen, trained by Mark Case. I don't know much about Connection at all, but looked to be really nice when winning in August, winning a standard fillies race. And then when I finished second to And One More Time up at Woodbine, that was in a race that Godolphin sent Mountain Breeze to, and it was the 4-5 Fav. Really did quite well, sort of came around the outside of the pack, stayed on nicely through the line, Mark Case had the 1-2-3 in the race, and Vixen was the second shortest of the 3, and One More Time was actually the biggest price and went and won. But she did really, really well. I think she could be very interesting. She's got a bit of a bad stall to navigate, but I think she could be very interesting in the Juvenile Fillies Turf, and that's 25-1 about Vixen. Big price. And in the Fillies Sprint over 7 furlongs, I want to get the right race time because I think it's before the normal sprint. I believe it's the 7 o'clock. Yeah, the 7 o'clock, the Filly and Mare Sprint over 7 furlongs. I've always been a fan of Frost at Dawn. William Knight trained. Frankie Dettori gets in the saddle. Has some really good form in Maidan earlier this year, beating Star of Mystery when I think getting a pound in weight. Star of Mystery went on to run well in some graded races. Was ahead of Logo Hunter, who used to be trained in Ireland, I believe, and had a rating of 110. Ahead of Pontos, who's the Czechoslovakia runner who came over to the UK and sort of went in behind Big Evs and Brad Sell. She's won over 7 furlongs before. She's a bit more of a staying type sprinter than a natural sprinter. She'll really like the quick ground, and she was a bit unlucky last time out at Keeneland in a grade 2. Was always staying on the line, staying on alongside Star of Mystery as well, who has some decent form. I think Frost at Dawn, 33-1, is a big price in the Fillies Sprint over 7 furlongs. But that's all we have time to talk about, Harry. What are we going to be doing this weekend? Saturday Live, I assume?
Yeah, Saturday Live, nice and sober, I hope, that everyone is tuning in. Yeah, Saturday Live, and obviously, if you do already, and you haven't, please do subscribe and hit the like button. Leave us a comment because I love reading through. Someone mentioned my Sergio jacket last week, and
they did.
Yeah. I've let the side down. I've got a casual night hoodie because I've just come back from work. But
I've got a vintage sweatshirt on which just says Brown. It's from it's the Brownfields University in the US. Brownlands.
Yeah, what a crock of shit. Anyway, look, make sure you do like and subscribe because we love it and we love making these. It's a shame, obviously, Lee's not on today because I mean he's the one that finds the winners, not me and Ash. We just argue with each other, but it's good fun and we thank everyone I thank everyone for tuning in. It really is appreciated, and I mean, really, you want to listen to our voices for half an hour of your time. I mean, it's fair play to you.
They just come for the trainer interviews. They just come for
I
that.
don't blame them. I don't blame them. To be fair, when they give out 9-1 and a 4-1, it's no brainer, mate.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, no, thank you very much for the support on the videos this year. We've had over 2,500 viewers on, I think, all 4 of our videos. Subscribers are really massive. Go follow us on TikTok at OFLH pod, I believe, or podcast. Go follow us over there. The followers are really picking up because there's been a couple of winners from trainers. Make sure to go do that. Follow us on Twitter. Follow, myself, Harry, Lee on Twitter. And yeah, we're back 10:30 a.m. on Saturday to talk about lots of things, I assume, mainly racing. Best of luck having a bet this week. Please do gamble responsibly, and we'll see you very, very soon.